Earlier in the programme, we looked at the natural cycle that people follow to learn. We know that to complete effective learning, we do something and have an experience, then we review this with deep thought and hindsight, we reflect on what happened, and then we conclude, we develop wisdom and insight about what happened by considering why. And then we plan for the future and develop foresight, we decide how. If we accept that this is the natural learning process, we can use the same cycle to help us grow by harnessing this as a self-coaching tool. So let's think about how this could work. Let's imagine you have done something. If you are naturally an activist or pragmatist, you will be very unlikely to spend proper time reflecting on the experience and forming conclusions. And this means you are unlikely to improve the same experience next time. Of course, a reflector or theorist would never have done this in the first place. They will be plagued by procrastination. But even theorists and reflectors have to get up every day and do a job. So this coaching model works after you've done an activity. And that can be at any stage of the journey to mastery. It's usually obvious when you are new to something that some errors will be made and you will need to improve. But we must also take time to complete learning when you've mastered something to make sure you keep sharpening the saw. Self-coaching relies on asking the right questions. You can ask yourself these questions, or you can ask others for feedback using these questions. There are 3 basic questions that you can use to reflect, 3 to conclude, and 3 to plan. To reflect, start by asking, how did that go? What worked well? What didn't work so well? It's important to make sure you get the balance right. When something doesn't go too well, we tend to get stuck on the what didn't work so well question and become too negative. And of course, when we've had a good experience, we tend to spend lots of time congratulating ourselves rather than being honest about the things that could have worked better. So it's simple. Stage 1 of self-coaching is to start by asking these questions and to be conscious about whether you are seeing the world negatively or positively, whether your glass is half full or half empty. You can use the same questions to ask a colleague what they thought about what happened. But remember, people are rarely honest when they are forced to give feedback. They tend to wimp out. So try to find someone who gives you a good balance of both positive and negative feedback. When you have reflected, now take time to properly draw conclusions. The 3 questions to ask are: what did I learn from that experience? What insights have I gained? How do I now feel about this? When we conduct a root cause analysis, we spend significant time diagnosing a situation before jumping to conclusions and making a plan. Self-coaching is the same. You need to spend proper effort in reflecting and concluding before beginning your plan. Reflectors and theorists will be able to do this with ease, but may get stuck and not move to planning. Pragmatists and activists tend to rush this and don't really diagnose the situation effectively. A great time to do this is when you are on a train commute, or perhaps walking your dog, or perhaps doing a repetitive exercise at the gym. Take time to think deeply before moving on to plan. Once you have completed your conclusions, you can use 3 simple questions to start thinking about the future. What should I keep, stop, or start doing? Who should I involve and how? What are my next steps? Use these 3 simple questions to start thinking about how to improve your skills. Let's look at an example. Mary is a downhill skier. During her training, she has a special way of using her coach. She relies on him for observation. So, at the top of the mountain, she will carefully explain what she will do as she goes down. She may ask him to take particular interest in the left bends because that's what she's trying to improve. So she briefs him on what to observe. Then she skis downhill. At the bottom of the hill is a little hut where she goes to make a phone call to her coach. And she asks what he observed. How did her plan go? What worked well? What didn't work so well? As she gets on the ski lift to go back to the top for the next round, she concludes and decides how she wants to approach her next downhill practice. And at the top, she and the coach talk about what she will try on the next attempt and what he will observe. Her road to mastery is about practice, practice, and more practice. Using the coaching model, she is able to quickly gain insight into how to improve on each attempt. Our self-coaching model is based on the learning cycle and will give you a structure to help you improve your learning experience. Think of a situation recently where you were overly negative about a situation. Forcing yourself to reflect in a balanced way, asking what is good about this, is a powerful way to get a more realistic perception of the situation. Remember to take time to properly diagnose before planning your next attempt. And remember the crocodile. If someone says you have a green tail, why not check it out with a few more people before you decide this is true? Information is power.